dreaming my life away for tomorrow. For tomorrow I'll be ready. Tomorrow I'll change. Tomorrow doesn't wait for me.
Poppy is an American singer, songwriter and YouTuber. She started her career with performance art videos in a persona as an android. She started a musical career with a producer called Titanic Sinclair, but apparently that was quite a difficult relationship that they had. After 2 albums, they parted company in 2019. She's released 4 more since then. Her music combines electropop and metal and other things, and she's been involved in the creation of comic books and all sorts of other things. Hi, my name's Dan. So this is a review of a new released album. I'm recording this on Sunday evening in the UK, and the album was released on Friday, so I'm doing quite well at getting on top of it. Most of the videos on my channel are reviews of classic album tracks. Classic albums. In fact, I'm using a list according to a website called Acclaim Music. It is the list of the 3,000 greatest albums of all time, which is being created by amalgamating lists from critics from across the years and around the world. That's my main focus on my channel, but occasionally I do something different and step off. So one of those is that I do request reviews. If you want to request a review, just leave a comment on any of my videos. And sometimes I do new release videos. And how do I choose which ones I want to do? Well, I just look at what releases there are and think, I fancy having a go at that one. So as long as they're not going to take over my channel, maybe when I finish the main list, I can let that happen if I want. But for now, I just do a few of them. So I've come across Poppy before, otherwise I wouldn't have chosen to review this album. So I came across Poppy when I was exploring a area of music called kawaii metal, which is a combination of, well, it's a Japanese idea originally, a combination of J-pop, so kind of poppy teen bubblegummy stuff, with metal. And one of the foremost proponents of that is Baby Metal, who are a band that I really enjoy. But I went looking for more kawaii metal one day and came across Poppy. So I was quite intrigued by the juxtaposition of sweet bubblegum electropop and metal, and her particular take on this. So I saw that this was going to come out and decided I was going to review it. However, I did have one reservation, which is that all my previous consumption of Poppy stuff had been by watching videos of her stuff, and the videos can be quite visually effective. So I wondered how I'd respond to it without it being a video. Right, so before I tell you what I think of it, let's try and do some description. So there's quite a lot of other things in here. There is what I would describe as electropop. Occasionally this is quite 90s. So the track Crystallized, which is one of my favourites on the album, is quite old school, like 90s banger. Reminds me of people like Kylie, Britney Spears, Madonna of that era. That sort of kind of dance floor filler stuff. There are other bits that are quite poppy too. There's quite a few bits that are, kind of electro and kind of dancey, as it were. And then there's metal. And there's lots of blends in between. So there's metal guitars in the pop stuff. And at times there's some very thrashy, very unfettered metal sections. And screaming. And samples and quite a plethora of sounds. There's a lot of different stuff going in here. Everything's got this kind of feeling of being very produced. I mean, it is very produced, but that kind of gives a certain kind of plasticity to the feel, so a bit kind of plastic and synthetic, but I think that's a deliberate thing. So I know that she's got this android personality that she's used in the past, and I think that this is a deliberate affectation here. She can have quite a sweet but slightly kind of disconnected voice. That's quite a common thing these days, I would say. She's got quite a range to her voice, unless that's enhanced in some way. There's certainly autotune being used at various points. And then there's the screaming, as I said, and yeah, she can really scream as well. So I did find musically there was such a range here that, so as you probably are aware, I tend to have two clips of music that I use on the video. One of the opening kind of stuff that's coming up the screen, and one for the closing credits. And so this means for every review I do, I've got to choose two tracks that I'm going to use bits of for the start and the end. And normally I try and do something where I'm going to try and, give you the best feel and flavour for the album. This was impossible, this album, which is usually a good sign for me, I think. It means that there's so much going on here that I can't sum it up with two short bits. So definitely failed. You've got what you've got. Um, um, yeah, so musically very varied, from electropop to very kind of almost as heavy metal as I've ever come across, I would say. And then above and within all this music is an album about something. Um, I'm not really sure if I'd call it a concept album, but it's certainly thematic. I found it really effective. It seems to be painting a picture of somebody who has a serene public face while trapped in an abusive relationship and falling apart inside. And there's certainly quite a lot of disturbing imagery and lyrics being used here. There are points where I found it to be very, very sad. It kind of paints this picture of despair with a crust of disinterest over the top. So I hope it expresses somewhere where she was. I know she was previously in quite a problematic relationship. I hope it's not where she is now, because it's not a nice place to be if this is what her life is like. However, I do think that it could really speak to some people, and that this kind of mixture of smooth exterior and troubled thoughts is very powerful. I would also say that, having come across all the kind of stuff about her and this kind of plastic image and the android stuff, that the bit where she isn't coming across as being kind of smoothed over is when she screams, and her growly metal scream is very emotive and is about as kind of effectively emotive as I think I've come across. Um, the start of the track, "The Centre is Falling Out," is about as effective in being a passage of metal stuff that is just really letting everything out there, as I've come across. So very, very strong. Uh, so every generation, I would say, every generation of music produces hyper creative artists. I think there are people that you can point to like David Bowie and Prince, and I think that she's one of these kind of people. That she's just got a lot that she can do and a lot that she can say, and it's disturbing, but it's relevant. I think she deserves to be a much higher profile than she is. So I not only enjoyed it quite a bit, I was actually quite moved by this album. So yeah, it's going to get a good score from me. I think this is quite an interesting album. There's very few things around that are this kind of scratch the surface as much as this does. So excellent stuff. As always, I'd love to hear what you think of this album and what you think of Poppy in general. I know in my introduction to Poppy, I haven't done her history justice because there's quite a lot to dig into there. And if there's anything you want to throw in, I'd love to hear it. And that's it from me for now.
Poppy.